Sometimes, life has a strange way of circling back to the moments you thought were long buried. For Evelyn Carter, that moment arrived on a Thursday morning, when an ordinary rideshare request became the doorway to her past. Evelyn adjusted the mirror of her small sedan, the hum of the engine steady beneath her. It was her third trip of the day, and she could already feel the caffeine wearing off. The morning rush had been merciless, and her phone buzzed with another ping. Pickup, Damian Ross, location, Hyatt, downtown. She squinted at the name. It sounded familiar, but she brushed it off. The city was full of Damians, and her memories didn't need revisiting. Not today. Rain pattered lightly against the windshield as she pulled up to the Grand Hotel entrance. Men in tailored suits hurried under umbrellas. Evelyn tapped the app to confirm the arrival. That's when the glass door opened and the past stepped right into her car. He was exactly as she remembered, and not at all. Damian Ross, the man she had loved 8 years ago, the one she had left behind when her world collapsed, now stood inches away, umbrella in hand, looking impossibly composed. His dark coat framed his shoulders perfectly. His eyes, the same piercing gray she used to lose herself in, flickered with disbelief. "Evelyn?" he said, his voice low, hesitant, as if saying her name might shatter the illusion. Her throat went dry. "Mr. Ross," she managed, forcing professionalism into her tone. "Your ride's here?" Damian hesitated before sliding into the back seat, still staring at her reflection in the rearview mirror. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence was louder than the rain. 8 years. 8 years since she last saw him. 8 years since she learned what it meant to love someone who didn't stay. Evelyn gripped the steering wheel tighter, focusing on the road. She wasn't that girl anymore, the one who dreamed of tech startups and fairy tale endings. She was a mother now, a survivor. "Small world," Damian finally said, his tone halfway between disbelief and nostalgia. Evelyn forced a polite smile. "It's a city. People cross paths." "You look different," he said quietly. "Life tends to do that," she replied. For a moment, their eyes met in the mirror again. And in that instant, time folded in on itself. The years apart, the silence, the unanswered messages, it all came rushing back. She remembered the night he left for Singapore, chasing a business deal that would change his life. She remembered the way he promised to call, the way she waited for months. And she remembered the moment she realized she was pregnant, alone. Evelyn blinked, forcing herself back into the present. "Where to?" she asked briskly. Damian cleared his throat. "The Ross Tech headquarters." Of course. His empire, his legacy, the same world that had swallowed him and left her behind. As the car moved through downtown, tension hung thick in the air. Damian leaned forward slightly. "Evelyn, I didn't know you were in the city." "I've been here for years," she replied, eyes on the road. He nodded slowly. "And driving?" Her jaw tightened. "It's honest work." He flinched at her tone. "I didn't mean—" "I know what you meant," she cut in. Silence again. Only the rain and the hum of the tires filled the space. In another life, they might have talked about the weather, or laughed about fate. But this wasn't that life anymore. This was the fragile intersection of regret and reality. "Evelyn," Damien said after a pause, his voice softer now. "You just disappeared. I tried reaching you." She let out a small, humorless laugh. "Did you?" He frowned. "I sent emails, texts. I was pregnant, Damien." The words came out before she could stop them. The car went dead silent. The air thickened. Damien's expression froze. Disbelief, confusion, shock. "What did you just say?" he whispered. Evelyn's fingers trembled slightly against the steering wheel. "Forget it. Just let's finish the ride." But it was too late. The truth had slipped through. "You were pregnant?" "Yes." Her voice cracked slightly. "With twins." And just like that, 8 years of silence exploded into a storm of emotions neither could escape. Damien's voice was barely a whisper. "Twins." She nodded once, eyes fixed on the traffic light ahead. "A boy and a girl." He leaned back, stunned. The city blurred past his window, but his mind was miles away, in the past, rewinding, searching for missed signs, for moments lost in ambition. "Evelyn, why didn't you tell me?" She laughed bitterly. "I did. I sent messages, emails. I called your assistant. Do you want to guess how many replies I got?" He was silent. "None. Not one." Damien rubbed his temples, realization dawning, the weight of 8 years crashing down all at once. "Evelyn, I swear I never got them. Don't." Her voice was sharp now. "Don't act like you suddenly care." He leaned forward. "I do care. God, Evelyn, if I had known. But you didn't, and that's what matters. You were busy building your empire while I was figuring out how to feed 2 babies on a waitress salary." Her voice shook. The hurt she'd buried for years was clawing its way out. For the first time, Damien saw the cost of his success. Not in numbers, but in faces he'd never met. His children. He exhaled slowly. "Can I see them?" Evelyn almost laughed again, but it came out as a sigh. "No, not today. Maybe not ever." "Please," he said quietly. "I know I have no right to ask, but I just want to meet them." Her eyes glistened in the rearview mirror. "They're my world, Damien. I won't let anyone, not even you, disrupt that." "I understand," he said softly. "But I want to make things right." Evelyn looked away. "Some things can't be fixed."
The car stopped at a red light. For a moment, neither spoke. The rain outside turned to a drizzle, soft and rhythmic, like the pulse of a story that was far from over. Evelyn's phone buzzed with a notification. Another ride request, another life to move forward. She said, "Your stop." Damien hesitated before stepping out. "Evelyn, I'll find a way to make this right." She didn't answer. She couldn't. As the door closed and he disappeared into the glass tower of Ross Tech, Evelyn exhaled the breath she'd been holding since that first moment. She looked at the empty seat beside her, the ghost of a love she'd thought she'd buried, and for the first time in years, her hands trembled on the wheel. But this wasn't the end of their story. It was only the beginning. Because some rides don't just take you across the city. They take you straight back to the life you thought you left behind. The city lights flickered in the distance as Evelyn drove away from Ross Tech Tower. The rain had stopped, but her heart hadn't. Every beat felt heavier than the last. It wasn't just seeing Damien again. It was everything his face had brought back. The sleepless nights, the unread messages, the years of wondering what if. When she pulled into the parking lot of her apartment complex, the world felt quieter, smaller. Her twin children, Noah and Leela, were still at school, and that gave her a rare moment, a fragile pause, to breathe. Evelyn leaned her forehead against the steering wheel. 8 years. 8 long years since she'd last seen him, and in 10 minutes, everything she'd buried had been unearthed. As the viewers watching, you could almost feel her conflict. Part of her heart was still furious, and another quietly trembling, wondering what might come next. Evelyn walked up the stairs to her modest 2-bedroom apartment. The walls were lined with drawings, crayon rainbows, stick figures, messy hearts labeled Mom, Noah, and Leela. She smiled faintly. Those were her reminders that love didn't need luxury, it needed presence. In the kitchen, she reheated yesterday's soup, lost in thought. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello?" "Evelyn." Damien's voice. Her stomach flipped. "How did you get my number?" she asked, her tone sharp but weary. "I found it in an old contact list. Please don't hang up." "I told you not to reach out." "I know," he said quickly, "but I can't just walk away after what I heard." Evelyn closed her eyes. "There's nothing to fix, Damien." "I disagree," he said firmly. "You kept a part of me I never even knew existed. I want to make things right for them." Her silence stretched. Finally, she whispered, "It's not that simple." And of course it wasn't. Because love wasn't a switch you could flip back on after 8 years of silence. It was a wound, and wounds, even when healed, remember where they were cut.
Damien's voice softened. "Evelyn, please, can we meet? Just talk. No lawyers, no press. Just us." She hesitated. Against every logical thought in her mind, she said, "Tomorrow. Coffee. 10 a.m. at the Riverfront Cafe." He exhaled, relief in his tone. "I'll be there." When the call ended, Evelyn sat in silence, the hum of the refrigerator filling the room. Tomorrow, the past would sit across from her, with the same gray eyes that once made her believe in forever. The next morning dawned bright, clear, and full of unwanted anticipation. Evelyn stood in front of the mirror, her reflection both familiar and foreign. The young woman Damien once knew was gone, replaced by a mother who'd learned to fight for every inch of her peace. Still, she couldn't deny the flutter in her chest. Was it anger or hope? She didn't know anymore. At the cafe, Damien was already waiting. He'd traded his suit for a simple button-up, his posture less commanding, more human. When Evelyn approached, he stood immediately, offering a small smile. "You came." "Don't make me regret it," she said, sitting down. He chuckled lightly, then grew serious. "Evelyn, I owe you everything I never gave you. An apology, first of all." She met his gaze, skeptical. "Go on." What followed wasn't just an apology. It was a confession, a breakdown of years that neither of them could rewrite. "I didn't abandon you," Damien said quietly. "I swear I didn't. I thought you'd walked away." "Walked away?" Evelyn scoffed. "I called your assistant for weeks. I emailed your company, sent letters to your office." He nodded, grim. and I just found out why. There was a corporate restructuring. Messages were being filtered through a new system. Personal ones flagged as non-priority. Your emails were buried. Evelyn blinked, her jaw tightening. So it was a glitch? In a way, but one that cost me my family. Her laughter came sharp, bitter. A convenient excuse. I don't expect forgiveness, Damien replied. But I need you to know I didn't choose silence. I was misled, and I've lived every day thinking you didn't want me anymore. Evelyn's eyes softened slightly, the anger wavering. I wanted you, until it became too painful to keep waiting. Damien nodded slowly. And the twins? Noah and Leela, she said, her voice quiet but proud. They're my everything. They're smart, kind, and they don't need your money or your name. I don't want to give them my name. I want to give them my time. And right there, you could almost feel the air shift. The billionaire who once chased the world was now chasing something far rarer: redemption. Evelyn's hands trembled slightly as she sipped her coffee. You can't just walk back in and play father, Damien. They don't even know you exist. Then maybe it's time they did. She looked away, eyes glistening. You don't understand what you're asking. I've worked so hard to keep their lives stable, to protect them from disappointment.
He leaned forward. I know, but you don't have to do it alone anymore. The words hit harder than she expected. For 8 years, she had done it alone. Birthdays, school projects, sleepless nights. She'd been mother and father, provider and protector. Part of her wanted to reject him outright, but another part, the part that still remembered his laugh, his warmth, wondered if this was fate's cruel way of offering a second chance. Damien, she said softly, if I even consider this, it has to be on my terms. Anything, he said without hesitation. No media, no sudden visits, no promises you can't keep. Agreed. And if you hurt them, I won't. His tone was firm, almost desperate. I swear I won't. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was something. The smallest crack in the wall she'd built to protect her heart. As they sat in silence, Evelyn studied his face. He looked older, yes, but wiser too. There were faint lines near his eyes, the kind that only come from living with regret. For a moment, she saw not the billionaire, but the man she once loved, the one who whispered dreams to her in the glow of their old apartment. And that memory scared her more than anything. After the meeting, Damien walked her to her car. Thank you for giving me a chance to explain. Evelyn nodded. Don't make me regret it. He smiled faintly. I'll try not to. As he turned to leave, Evelyn caught herself watching him, not with longing, but with uncertainty. The story between them wasn't over. If anything, it was just finding its second act. Because when the past resurfaces, it doesn't always come to haunt you. Sometimes it comes to remind you that even broken things can still find a way to heal. Have you ever looked at your life and realized how far you've come? Not because of the easy days, but because of the storms you survived. That's where Evelyn found herself that evening. As she stood at the kitchen counter, stirring a pot of spaghetti, Her mind wasn't in the room. It was replaying every word Damien had said at the cafe. His apology, his regret, his promise. Promises. She used to believe in those. Now all she believed in were her two reasons for waking up every morning: Noah and Lila. The sound of laughter snapped her back to the present. Two small hurricanes burst through the front door, backpacks slung, voices bubbling with energy. "Mom, guess what?" Lila shouted, her pigtails bouncing as she threw her bag on the couch. "I got picked for the science fair." Evelyn smiled, wiping her hands on a towel. "That's amazing, sweetheart. What's your project about?" "Solar-powered bird feeders," Lila said proudly. "Noah helped me with the coding part." Noah grinned shyly, his glasses slightly crooked. "Yeah, we made it send data to her tablet so she can track how many birds visit." Evelyn's chest warmed. "You two never stop amazing me."
See, this was Evelyn's world now. A small apartment, home-cooked dinners, and the sound of giggles echoing down the hallway. There was no luxury, no private jets, no high-rise views, but there was love, and that was more than enough. After dinner, the twins sprawled out on the floor, surrounded by art supplies and school books. Evelyn sat nearby, laptop open, trying to finish an online freelance project. She taught herself to code again. Small gigs, nothing fancy, but it helped pay for school supplies and rent. Lila looked up. "Mom, can you tell us a story before bed?" "About what?" Evelyn asked. "About you," Noah said. "Before us." Evelyn chuckled softly. "Before you? That was a long time ago." "Please," Lila begged, tugging at her sleeve. "Just one." Evelyn leaned back, smiling wistfully. "All right. Once upon a time, there was a girl who dreamed of changing the world through technology. She was brave, stubborn, and maybe a little naive." "She sounds like you," Noah said with a grin. "She was me," Evelyn admitted softly. "But life had other plans." And just like that, you could sense it. The ache behind her words. She wasn't just telling a story. She was remembering the life she'd left behind. That night, after the twins were asleep, Evelyn sat by the window, city lights flickering outside. She thought about the cafe conversation, about Damien's eyes when he learned he had children. There was shock there, yes, but also something else. Something she hadn't seen in him before. Vulnerability. Vulnerability didn't erase 8 years, but it did make her wonder, could a man change that much? Her phone buzzed. A message from Damien. "Damien, thank you again for meeting me today. I won't push, but I meant what I said. I want to make things right." Evelyn stared at the text for a long time before typing a reply. Then deleted it. Then typed again. "Evelyn, we'll see. Don't expect too much." She hit send, then placed the phone face down. Sometimes healing doesn't start with forgiveness. It starts with small messages that don't end in goodbye. The next morning, Evelyn's alarm went off at 6 a.m. sharp. Breakfast, uniforms, backpacks, the usual morning chaos. But today felt different, lighter somehow. She caught herself humming while pouring cereal. It wasn't hope exactly, more like curiosity. What if this time things didn't end the way they did before? Later that day, while waiting for a ride request, Evelyn stopped at a red light near a school playground. She watched the kids running, their laughter carrying through the air. She couldn't help but think of Noah and Lila, how far they'd come without ever knowing half their story. Should I tell them? She wondered. Should I tell them about their father? Her heart said yes. Her fear said no. That evening, as the twins sat at the kitchen table doing homework, Evelyn caught herself staring at them. Lila's concentration reminded her so much of Damien, the same furrowed brow, the same focus.
Noah's quiet curiosity was hers, soft-spoken, observant, always asking why. "Mom," Noah's voice pulled her from her thoughts. "Why are you looking at us like that?" She smiled. "Just thinking about how fast you're growing up." Lila wrinkled her nose. "We're not that old." Evelyn laughed. "Old enough to surprise me every day." And maybe that's what made Evelyn hesitate. Because deep down she knew that one day they'd want to know where they came from, who their father was, why he wasn't around. And no matter how strong she was, some truths were too heavy to carry alone. That night, Evelyn couldn't sleep. She lay awake listening to the gentle rhythm of rain tapping against the window. Her mind replayed the past, not the glamorous parts, but the quiet ones. The late nights in their tiny apartment after Damien left. The exhaustion, the fear. The moments she'd look at her newborns and whisper, "We'll be okay." And somehow they were. The next morning, Evelyn got another text from Damien. "Damien, I've been thinking about what you said, about your rules. I'll follow them, but could I at least send something for the twins? Books, maybe?" Evelyn hesitated. It wasn't about money or gifts. It was about trust. Still, she typed back. "Evelyn, books are fine. Nothing flashy. Damien. Understood. Thank you." 2 days later, a small box arrived. Inside were 2 books, one about space exploration, the other about marine life. Each had a handwritten note tucked inside. For Lila, dream big. There's no limit to what you can build. For Noah, keep asking questions. The world needs thinkers like you. Evelyn's breath caught. Damien hadn't sent toys or gadgets. Just words. Sincere. Personal. "Who are they from?" Lila asked, peeking over her shoulder. Evelyn hesitated. "A friend." And that's how it started. Small ripples in still water. A simple gift that carried more meaning than either of them could see. That night, Evelyn tucked the twins into bed. Lila hugged her tightly. "Mom, your friend sounds nice. Can we meet him someday?" Evelyn froze for a second, then smiled faintly. "Maybe. Someday." After they fell asleep, she stepped into the hallway, her heart heavy, but hopeful. She didn't know when or how to tell them the truth, but she knew one thing for sure. The past wasn't done with her yet. Because in stories like this, there's always a moment when the old world meets the new, when secrets become bridges instead of walls. And Evelyn was standing right on that edge, torn between the life she built and the love she thought she'd lost. There's a moment, right before everything changes, when life still feels normal. Evelyn didn't know it, but she was standing right in that moment. It had been a week since Damien's message, a week since the books arrived. The twins had read them every night, trading stories before bed like little scholars. Evelyn had almost started to believe the quiet could last. But fate always has its own plans. It started with a coincidence, or maybe something more. Evelyn was picking up an Uber passenger from the city park, the kind of Saturday crowd full of families, joggers, and laughter. As she waited, her phone buzzed with a new request. Destination Ross Tech Tower. Her heart skipped. Him again. She debated canceling, but curiosity, or maybe something deeper, made her accept. When she arrived, Damien was already there, leaning against the curb, sunglasses on, phone in hand. He looked different. Not the billionaire everyone recognized from magazines, but a man quietly wrestling with his own ghosts. He smiled when he saw her. "Evelyn." "Damien," she replied, folding her arms. "Are you following me now?" He chuckled softly. "No, though if I were, I'd hope for better luck than this." She sighed, unlocking the car. "Where to this time?" "To the community center. We're donating tech kits to the local schools today." "Still saving the world, huh?" He smiled faintly. "Trying to." It was almost easy to forget the history between them. Almost. But life has a way of reminding you that the past never really leaves. It just waits for the right moment to reappear. As Evelyn drove, Damien glanced at her through the rearview mirror. "How are the twins?" Her grip on the steering wheel tightened. "They're fine." "I'm glad. That doesn't mean you get to know more." "I'm not asking," he said quietly. "I just like knowing they're okay." Evelyn didn't reply. She couldn't decide if his sincerity calmed her or scared her. When they reached the community center, Damien invited her to come inside. "It'll just take a few minutes. You can wait in the lounge. There's coffee." Evelyn hesitated. She had another ride request coming in 10 minutes, but something about his tone, a mix of hope and sadness, made her say yes. Inside, the hall buzzed with energy. Volunteers, teachers, and children filled the space. Laughter, cameras flashing, the kind of joy that comes from giving. Evelyn stood near the back, watching as Damien knelt beside a group of students, showing them how to build a small robotic arm. And for a brief, disorienting moment, she saw it. Not the businessman, not the billionaire, but a man quietly wrestling with his own ghosts. You know that feeling when you see someone through a lens you didn't expect? That's what hit Evelyn then. It wasn't love, not yet, but it was a dangerous kind of empathy. After the event, Damien walked back toward her, smiling. "Didn't think I'd see you again." "I could say the same." He looked down for a moment. "Evelyn, may I ask you something?" "Depends on what it is." "If I happen to see them, just from a distance, would that be okay?" Evelyn froze. "What do you mean?" "I don't mean approach them," he said quickly. "I just want to see them." to know they're real. Her chest tightened. She wanted to say no, but something in his voice stopped her. That trembling mix of guilt and yearning. "Where?" she asked carefully.
You mentioned they go to school near Brookside, right? Her eyes narrowed. How do you... I once posted a picture years ago. A playground in the background. I recognized it. Evelyn sighed. Damien. He raised a hand. I won't approach, I promise. I just want to see. And here's where Evelyn's heart divided itself in two. One half protecting her children, the other remembering that once upon a time this man had been her whole world. Finally, she said, "If I agree, it's on my terms. You stay far, no contact, no photos, just watch and leave." He nodded immediately. Agreed. The next afternoon, the sun was out, warm and golden. Evelyn parked her car near the playground while the twins ran ahead laughing. Lila's hair gleamed in the sunlight. Noah's voice echoed with joy. And not far away, parked in a quiet corner, a sleek black car sat idle. Damien was inside. He didn't move, didn't speak, just watched. Noah was helping his sister climb the monkey bars. Lila cheered as she reached the top triumphant. Damien smiled, the kind of smile that broke and healed all at once. He whispered to himself, "My God, they look just like her." Evelyn, standing by the slide, felt the weight of his gaze. She didn't have to look to know he was there. Somehow she felt it, like a thread connecting them through the years. For the audience watching this story, you can almost feel that moment. Two worlds, two lives, one heart still guarded, one full of regret. Both standing just a few breaths apart and yet separated by 8 years of silence. When the twins waved to her, Evelyn forced a smile. They had no idea that the man watching from across the park was their father. And for now, she wanted to keep it that way. Because love, especially the kind that breaks you, doesn't come back quietly. But what Evelyn didn't know was that life was already moving faster than her fear. And sometimes fate doesn't wait for permission. You know how sometimes the universe doesn't wait for you to be ready? That's exactly what happened the day Damien accidentally stepped into his children's world. Evelyn had planned it carefully, one quick visit to the park, nothing more. She'd even checked twice to make sure Damien stayed in his car. But fate has a funny way of ignoring instructions. The twins were racing each other toward the ice cream stand near the sidewalk. Evelyn followed behind, her heart light for the first time all week. And that's when it happened. A stray football came flying out of nowhere, heading straight toward Lila. Before Evelyn could move, a tall figure stepped in, caught the ball midair, and handed it back to the laughing kids. Damien. He hadn't planned to leave the car, but instinct, pure parental instinct, had moved faster than reason. For a moment, time froze. Evelyn's breath caught as she saw her children staring up at him.
Lila smiled shyly. "Thanks, mister." Damien knelt slightly, returning the ball. "You're welcome, champ." His voice trembled just enough for Evelyn to notice. Then he saw Noah, those same gray eyes staring back at him, curious and unafraid. It was like looking into a mirror he didn't know existed. That's the thing about truth. It doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it just stands there, in a park, on a sunny day, and stares you right in the face. Evelyn hurried forward, her pulse racing. "Kids, come on, ice cream time!" The twins turned, oblivious, and ran ahead again. Damien straightened slowly, his gaze still fixed on them. "Evelyn, I'm sorry, I didn't mean—" "She told you not to get out of the car," she hissed, keeping her voice low so the twins wouldn't hear. "I know, it was instinct. She almost—" "I can't do this if you don't listen." He nodded quickly. "I swear, it won't happen again." "But, Evelyn," seeing them, even for a second, his voice cracked. "It's everything I've missed without knowing." Evelyn's anger wavered, replaced by exhaustion. "You can't just walk into their lives like this. They don't even know who you are." "Then maybe it's time they did," he said softly. She looked at him, really looked, and for the first time, she didn't just see Damien Ross, the billionaire. She saw a man on the edge of tears, broken open by a moment he never expected. Later that night, Evelyn sat at the kitchen table long after the twins had gone to bed. The house was quiet, but her mind was loud, replaying that look on Damien's face, the way Noah had smiled at him, how natural it had seemed. She wanted to be angry. Instead, she felt something far more dangerous, understanding. Because deep down, she knew, if she were in his place, she'd want the same thing. For the audience listening, you can almost feel her conflict. One part of her heart screaming, "Protect them," the other whispering, "Maybe they deserve to know him." A buzz from her phone cut through the silence. "Damien, I'm sorry again. I shouldn't have stepped in, but thank you for letting me see them, even if it was an accident." She typed for a long time before sending her reply. "Evelyn, you broke the rule, but thank you for catching that ball. Damien, I'd do it 1,000 times." She sighed, set the phone aside, and whispered to the empty room, "What am I supposed to do with you?" The next day, Evelyn met her best friend Tessa at a small cafe. Tessa had been there through everything, the heartbreak, the births, the rebuilding. "So," Tessa said, sipping her latte, "you finally saw him again. How'd that go?" Evelyn gave a dry laugh. "Disastrous, emotional, complicated. Pick one." Tessa raised a brow. "And he saw the kids?" "Not on purpose." "But he did?" Evelyn nodded. Tessa leaned forward. "How'd he look?" Evelyn hesitated. "Like someone trying not to fall apart."
Sometimes the people who once broke us don't come back as villains. They come back as reminders that even pain can grow softer with time. That night, Evelyn tucked the twins in. Noah clutched his new space book, eyes half closed. "Mom?" "Yes, love?" "Do you think everyone has a dad somewhere?" Evelyn froze. "Why do you ask?" Lila yawned. "There was a man at the park today. He looked at us funny." Evelyn's heart stuttered. "Funny? Not bad funny," Noah said. "Like he knew us." Evelyn smiled faintly, brushing hair from her forehead. "Maybe he just thought you were special." Lila grinned. "We are special." "Yes," Evelyn whispered. "You are." She kissed them good night, closed the door, and leaned against the hallway wall, her chest tight. And there it was, the moment she knew the truth couldn't stay hidden forever. Because children have a way of sensing things adults pretend not to feel. The next morning, Evelyn found herself drafting an email to Damien. No subject line, no greeting, just words that cost her courage she didn't know she still had. "Evelyn, they noticed you. We need to talk." Her finger hovered over send. She took a deep breath and clicked. And just like that, The walls she'd built for 8 years began to crack. Because when worlds collide, past and present, fear and forgiveness, you can't always control the outcome. You can only decide whether to run from it or finally face it. You know that quiet moment after you've made a decision you can't take back. That's where Evelyn was. She'd hit send on the email hours ago. Now the words sat there, unblinking, staring at her from the screen like a ticking clock. They noticed you. We need to talk. Simple, direct, but loaded with the kind of truth that changes everything. Evelyn sat at the kitchen counter, staring into her untouched cup of coffee. The twins were at school, the house silent except for the hum of the fridge. Her phone buzzed. Damien. When and where? She typed back quickly. Evelyn. Café Marlowe. Noon. Damien. I'll be there. Thank you, Evelyn. She closed her eyes. Thank you. 2 words that shouldn't sting, but did. You could feel it, that pull between resentment and relief. Evelyn wasn't just meeting her ex, she was meeting the past she'd buried and the man who still had the power to break her all over again. At Café Marlowe, sunlight streamed through wide glass windows, cutting soft golden patterns across the tables. The air smelled of roasted beans and rain, that fresh, city-after-storm scent. Evelyn arrived early. She always did. Control had become her armor. And then, like the echo of a heartbeat, he walked in. Damien. No entourage, no expensive suit. Just jeans, a simple shirt, and a look that said he hadn't slept much. He spotted her immediately. Their eyes met, and for a second the world went quiet. Evelyn, he said softly, sitting across from her. She nodded. You came fast. I didn't want to give you time to change your mind. She almost smiled at that. Almost. Well, I didn't. And just like that, there were 2 people pretending to have a normal conversation, coffee between them, history around them, 1,000 unspoken things floating in the air like invisible ghosts. He leaned forward slightly. You said they noticed me? Evelyn nodded. They did. Kids notice everything. He winced, guilt flashing across his face. I didn't mean to. I know. But now I have to deal with the questions. Mom, who was that man? Why did he look at us like that? He looked down, voice quiet. What did you tell them? That maybe he thought they were special. Which is true, isn't it? He smiled faintly. Very true. It wasn't accusation that filled her voice. It was exhaustion, the kind that comes from years of doing it all alone. And it wasn't defense in his eyes. It was regret, raw and unfiltered. Damien, she said, exhaling slowly. They're happy. Their lives are stable. I can't let that change overnight because you suddenly realized you want to be a father. I didn't suddenly realize it, he said firmly. I just finally found out I had the right to be one. Evelyn blinked, caught off guard by the quiet conviction in his tone. He went on. I missed their first steps, their birthdays, every little thing that made them who they are, and I'll never get that back. But if you think I can walk away now that I've seen them, you don't know me anymore. She looked down, fiddling with her cup. Maybe I don't. He softened. Then let me show you who I am now. And there it was. Not a demand, not a plea, just a quiet promise from a man who'd once chosen ambition over love. Evelyn leaned back. You think it's that simple? No, he admitted. Nothing about us ever was. Her lips curved into a tired smile. That's true. He took a deep breath. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect trust. I just want a chance to know them on their terms. Evelyn studied him. There was something different about the way he said, on their terms. He wasn't trying to claim them. He was asking for permission to care. For the audience, this is the moment where both characters are stripped of everything but honesty. No walls, no excuses, just two broken souls learning what forgiveness really costs. Let's say I agree, Evelyn said cautiously. How do we even start? Slowly, Damien replied. No headlines, no cameras, just moments, small ones. She hesitated. You'd keep it private? Absolutely, he said. They don't deserve to have their lives turned into stories for the press. This would just be for us. Evelyn nodded slowly. And what happens when they start asking questions you can't avoid? Then I'll tell them the truth, that their mother raised them with strength I can only admire, and that I made mistakes I'll spend the rest of my life making up for.
Her throat tightened. She didn't expect to cry, but the sincerity in his voice cracked something open inside her. She blinked quickly, turning away. You always did know how to say the right thing. Not always, he murmured. If I had, maybe we wouldn't be here. And that's the thing about closure. It doesn't always arrive when you stopped hurting. Sometimes it walks in wearing regret, sits across from you, and asks for a second chance. For a while, neither of them spoke. The cafe noise filled the silence, spoons clinking, chatter humming softly. Then Evelyn said quietly, They deserve to know their father, Damien, but I need to do this my way, slowly, carefully. He nodded. Your way is fine, as long as I'm part of it. Evelyn looked at him, half smiling. You're really not giving up, are you? Not this time, he said simply. And that's how it begins, not with a grand gesture, not with forgiveness shouted from rooftops, but with a single promise whispered across a cafe table. A promise to try. They walked outside together, standing at the edge of the street where the city hummed around them. The light breeze lifted Evelyn's hair. For a heartbeat, she remembered what it felt like to stand next to him years ago, the way he made the world feel both huge and safe. Do you ever think about what might have been? She asked quietly. He smiled, eyes distant. Every day, but now I'm more interested in what can still be. She met his gaze, her guard slipping just slightly. You always were a dreamer, and you always made me want to be better. There it was again, that flicker of something that once burned so bright between them. Not love, not yet, but the spark of possibility. As they parted ways, Evelyn found herself glancing back. Damien was watching her too, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough for now. That night, Evelyn sat on her porch, the glow from the streetlights spilling over the quiet neighborhood. She heard the twins laughing through their bedroom door, carefree, innocent, and for the first time in years, she didn't feel entirely alone in the world. Life doesn't always give you perfect endings, but it does give you moments,
raw, real, imperfect moments that whisper, maybe this is where healing begins. Evelyn didn't know what the future would hold for her and Damien, but one thing was certain. The truth was no longer hiding. It was standing right there, on the edge of everything they'd lost, and everything they might still find. There are moments in life that feel like standing on the edge of a cliff. One step forward could change everything, and there's no going back. For Evelyn, that moment had arrived. 2 days after their cafe talk, she sat on her couch, hands wrapped around a mug of lukewarm tea, staring at a message from Damien.
Whenever you're ready, I'll be there. No pressure. No pressure. 2 words that carried all the pressure in the world. Because this wasn't just about her anymore. It was about them. You can almost feel her heartbeat here, can't you? That mix of fear and longing, that impossible question, what if this ruins everything? But what if it fixes it too? That night, Evelyn sat with her twins at the dinner table. The smell of baked pasta filled the air, and the kids were chattering about their school art project. She watched them, Noah's thoughtful eyes, Leela's endless energy, and realized that no matter how much she wanted to shield them, part of protecting them meant telling them the truth. She cleared her throat. "Hey, you two, can we talk about something important?" Both heads turned. "Sure, Mom," Noah said, suspicious in that wise beyond his years way. Evelyn took a slow breath. "Remember the man at the park?" Leela nodded. "The one who caught the ball?" "Yes." Evelyn hesitated, then said gently, "His name is Damien, and he's someone special, to me, and to you." The twins exchanged a glance. "What do you mean?" Noah asked carefully. Evelyn smiled sadly. "He's your dad." And there it was, the moment every single mother both dreads and dreams about. The truth, finally spoken out loud. A name, a history, a door that could never be closed again. Leela blinked. "Our dad? Like, really?" "Yes, sweetheart, really." Noah frowned slightly. "But where was he?" Evelyn's throat tightened. "That's a long story, but what matters now is he wants to meet you. Only if you want to meet him too." The twins were quiet for a moment. Then Leela said, "Can we think about it?" "Of course," Evelyn said softly. But she didn't need to wait long, because later that night she overheard them whispering in their room. "I want to meet him. He caught the ball. He looked nice." Noah hesitated. "What if he leaves again?" Leela's voice was small. "Then we still got Mom." Sometimes children understand forgiveness long before adults do. The next morning, Evelyn sent the message. "Evelyn, they're ready. Let's do this. Saturday, 3 p.m., the park. Damien." "Thank you, Evelyn. I'll be there." Saturday came faster than Evelyn expected. The sun was gentle, clouds drifting lazily across the blue sky. The kind of day that feels like it's holding its breath. Evelyn arrived early with the twins, setting up near their favorite bench. She'd told them there was no pressure, just a meeting, just a hello. But inside, her heart was racing like a drum. Then she saw him, Damien, walking down the path, hands in his pockets, nerves written all over his face. He paused halfway, catching sight of the twins. You could see it, that flicker of disbelief, like his heart didn't quite believe his eyes.
two small figures, both carrying traces of his smile, his eyes, his spirit. Leela noticed first. "Mom, is that him?"
Evelyn nodded slowly. "Yes, baby, that's him." Damien took a few careful steps forward. Evelyn stood beside the twins, her protective instinct on high alert. But then Noah stepped out from behind her. "Hi," he said simply. Damien smiled, his voice gentle. "Hi, you must be Noah." "Mom told me my name?" "She did. And she told me you like space." "You know about space, too?" "A little. I build computers that help scientists study stars." "Really? That's so cool." And just like that, the wall between them began to crumble. Not with tears or speeches, but with curiosity. Because connection, real connection, often starts in small, ordinary moments. Lila peeked from behind Evelyn, shy but curious. "Do you know about unicorns, too?" Damien knelt, meeting her eyes. "I know they like glitter and that they're magical, but I'm pretty sure you know more than I do." She giggled. "You're right." Evelyn's heart softened, watching him with them, gentle, patient, real. Felt like witnessing something she'd secretly wished for, but never dared to imagine. The four of them spent the afternoon together. They played frisbee, shared ice cream, and talked about everything from school projects to favorite movies. Every laugh felt like a piece of healing slipping quietly into place. When Noah tripped chasing the frisbee, Damien rushed forward instinctively, helping him up with a gentle smile. "You okay, buddy?" Noah nodded, brushing dirt off his knee. "Yeah, you're fast." Damien grinned. "I used to run track in school." "No way!" "Way." It was simple, but sometimes the simple things carry the biggest weight. A hand held, a shared smile, a father quietly earning trust, one moment at a time. As the sun began to set, Evelyn watched them sitting together on the grass. Damien showing Noah how to skip stones, Lila braiding a flower crown beside them. She couldn't remember the last time her world had felt this still. Damien turned toward her, catching her gaze across the field. A quiet thank you passed between them, unspoken but understood. Evelyn nodded slightly, her eyes shining. Maybe, just maybe, this could work. Later, as they packed up to leave, Noah tugged at Evelyn's sleeve. "Mom." "Yes, love?" "Can we see him again?" Evelyn looked at Damien, then back at her son. "We'll see," she said softly. Damien smiled, not pushing, just grateful. "I'd like that too." And there it was, a promise, quiet, tentative, but real. The kind that doesn't shout, but lingers in the air long after the moment has passed. That night, Evelyn tucked the twins in. They were buzzing with excitement, retelling every detail, the jokes, the games, the stories. Lila smiled sleepily. "He's nice, Mom." Noah nodded. "He's not what I thought." Evelyn brushed their hair gently. "What did you think?" Noah shrugged. "I don't know, just different." Evelyn smiled softly. "People can surprise you." "Even dads?"
Lila mumbled. Even Dad's.
She turned off the light, stepping into the hallway, her eyes glistening. And for the first time in years, she felt like maybe she wasn't carrying the whole world alone. You can feel it, can't you? That fragile peace before the next chapter. Evelyn doesn't know what comes next. Damien doesn't either. But for the first time since their world fell apart, they're standing on the same side. Sometimes healing doesn't roar. It whispers, "I'm still here. I'm trying." Sometimes the best stories don't end where you expect. They start over, softer, wiser, and a little braver. 3 months had passed since that first meeting at the park. Summer had shifted into early autumn, and Evelyn's life looked different now. Not perfect, but finally balanced. The twins were thriving. Noah had joined the robotics club. Leela was learning to play the piano, though half her songs still dissolved into laughter halfway through. And Damien, well, he'd kept his promise. Every Wednesday, he showed up. Sometimes with snacks, sometimes with stories from work, sometimes with nothing but his time. And that was enough. You ever notice how consistency can heal things that apologies never could? That's what Evelyn was learning. It wasn't Damien's money or big gestures that mattered now. It was the way he remembered which day Leela had her recital. The way he actually listened when Noah explained how circuits worked. The way he never made Evelyn feel like she had to do it all alone anymore. One cool afternoon, Evelyn sat at her desk in a small co-working space downtown. Her laptop screen glowed softly, a coding project open, half finished. After years of putting her career on pause, she'd finally landed a role at a small startup founded by women in tech. She was back where she belonged, fingers flying across the keyboard, brain alive again. Her phone buzzed. "Damien. Twins asked if you want to join movie night. I promise popcorn and terrible jokes." Evelyn smiled. "Evelyn, only if I get to pick the movie." "Damien, deal, but nothing that makes me cry." Evelyn, "So, no Pixar?" "Damien, you're cruel." You can almost feel it, right? That gentle teasing, the kind that only exists between two people who have finally forgiven each other. Not completely, not perfectly, but enough. That evening, Evelyn arrived at Damien's house, or as the twins like to call it, the house with too many lights. It wasn't a mansion, though it was close. Still, Damien had made it warm. Family photos on the wall, a messy shoe rack by the door, a couch with popcorn stains that he pretended not to notice. The twins were sprawled out under a blanket fort. "Mom, you made it!" Leela yelled, waving. Evelyn laughed, setting down her purse. "You didn't start without me, did you?" "Only the trailers," Noah grinned. Damien appeared from the kitchen, holding a bowl of popcorn big enough for a small army. He said, "Peace offering, half salted, half caramel, because apparently that's how we compromise now."
Evelyn smirked. "Look at you, learning the ways of diplomacy." And just like that, the tension that once filled every silence between them had melted away. In its place, something steadier, something real. The movie rolled, the twins laughed, and somewhere between a punchline and a popcorn fight, Evelyn glanced at Damien. He was watching the kids, not her, but there was something in his eyes she recognized. Quiet awe. For the first time, he wasn't chasing deals or headlines. He was simply there. Later that night, after the twins were asleep, Evelyn stood on the balcony with a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. The city lights shimmered below. Damien stepped out beside her, 2 mugs of hot chocolate in hand. "Peace offering, part 2, he said. She smiled. You're on a roll tonight." He leaned on the railing, his breath visible in the cool air. "I keep thinking about how much time I lost, all the moments I missed." Evelyn looked down into her cup. "You can't change the past, Damien." "I know," he turned to her, "but I can show up now, if you'll let me." She met his gaze, steady, sincere. "You already are." That's the thing about second chances. They don't ask you to rewrite history. They just ask you to show up differently this time. Weeks turned into months. The rhythm of their lives found a kind of grace. Evelyn would drop the twins off at Damien's place before heading to work. He'd text her pictures of them baking cookies, coding mini-games, or accidentally turning the kitchen into a flower storm. She'd pretend to be annoyed, but her smile always gave her away. One Friday, Evelyn's boss called her into a meeting. They wanted her to lead a new software initiative, something that could put her back in the spotlight of the tech world. She said yes, not because she needed to prove anything, but because she finally believed she could handle it. And when she told Damien later that evening, he didn't respond with grand speeches, just a simple, "I'm proud of you." Those words landed harder than any diamond ever could. Because when someone sees your strength and your scars and loves both, that's not luck, that's growth. Months later, at the Twin School Talent Show, Evelyn stood in the front row beside Damien. Lila played her piano piece, hands trembling but determined. Noah presented a mini-robot he'd built with Damien's help. When the applause filled the room, Evelyn glanced at Damien. He was already looking at her, eyes full of pride. In that crowded gym, surrounded by laughter and clapping hands, something unspoken passed between them again. Maybe it wasn't just co-parenting anymore. Maybe it was something deeper, rebuilt, redefined, reborn. That night, after tucking the twins in, Evelyn found Damien cleaning up the living room. "You don't have to do that," she said, picking up a stray popcorn box. "I know," he replied with a smile, "but maybe I want to." She laughed softly. "You've changed."
He looked at her, really looked at her. "So have you." For a moment they just stood there. No drama, no tension, just quiet understanding. Then Evelyn said, "You should get some rest." He nodded. "You too." But as she turned to leave, Damien spoke again, voice almost a whisper. "Evelyn." She paused. "Yeah?" "I don't know where this goes, but I want to keep walking there with you." Evelyn's eyes softened. "Then let's just see where it takes us." And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Love doesn't always come back the same way it left. Sometimes it returns quieter, steadier, not to fix you, but to walk beside you. Evelyn found her peace. Damien found his purpose. And together, they found a rhythm that wasn't about perfection, just presence. The twins thrived. The laughter came easy again. And on quiet nights, when the city lights flickered outside their window, Evelyn would smile to herself and think, maybe this is what healing looks like. Not fireworks, not grand gestures, just everyday moments that finally feel safe. So, if you've ever wondered whether second chances are real, look no further than this story. Because sometimes life doesn't give you a brand new beginning. It just gives you the courage to start again, with the same heart, but wiser hands.
If this story touched your heart, take a moment to breathe it in, because sometimes we all need a reminder that love doesn't have to be perfect to be real. Tell me in the comments, do you believe in second chances? Would you have let Damien back in or walked away for good? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next journey. Every story here reminds us that even when life takes us apart, sometimes it brings us back stronger. Until next time, stay kind, stay hopeful, and never stop believing in your own story.